The sky was painted a most radiant shade of blue, and the sun burned and beamed brightly. Not a single cloud could be seen as far as the eye could see. The breeze was calm and gentle. The familiar strokes of waves glided against the sides of the ships. Today the sea lay tame and forgiving. Just shy of 30 Norse longships glided almost silently upon the surface of the placid clear blue waters. The sight of golden beaches crept into view, as well as a modest holdfast that sat upon a small hillside. Asbjorn's hand gripped tightly onto the hull of his own longship. It had been carved into the shape of a fierce sea serpent's head, just like the ones in the stories. It bared a grimacing snarl and looked almost lifelike. It must have made for a most terrifying sight to all those who had seen it come crashing ashore. He caught a glimpse of his own reflection as he glanced down into the clear waters. The heat of the midday sun radiated down upon him as his brow trickled with sweat, soaking his braid and beard alike. Asbjorn had grown rather fond of the southern land's warmer climate. He loved the way the sun warmed his pale skin. However, he could sometimes find the heat to be slightly overbearing. He reached down to scoop his half-helm into the water, relieving its cold and refreshing contents upon his head, before fastening it tight in preparation for their landing. Even though he was the veteran of at least half 100 raids, he still got the feeling of nerves mixed with excitement deep within his gut at the sight of their latest victim's shores. It had been much the same the whole way through this legendary expedition, even when they'd started out and been in their thousands. Under the command of his father's friend Bjorn Ironside, they'd pillaged the entire west coast of Iberia, taking mountains of gold, silver and gemstones, as well as many slaves and beautiful dark-skinned women, nothing like he and his men had ever seen before. They stopped beneath a huge rock to take on fresh water and livestock to see them well through the long journey ahead. They continued along the coast into South Francia, by which time winter was upon them, and in a terrible and unforeseen turn of events Thor brought down his hammer upon them in a great and wild storm, the kinds of which Asbjorn had never seen. During this storm the host suffered their first and most major setback, as over 40 longships and thousands of men were claimed by the gods to feast forevermore in the halls of Valhalla. This devastating event caused the host to winter in South Francia. Once regrouped, refreshed, and after letting the worst of the winter storms pass, Bjorn's host's next targets were the lands of Sicily. It was after this great raid that the tragic news of the death of his father Ragnar Lothbrok at the hands of King Elir of Northumbria reached Bjorn, who promised to take vengeance, ending his great raid instantly to return home to his brothers. It was then that Asbjorn's seer Sigrid informed him of her dreams and visions of the great wealth and prestige awaiting him to the east. She had seen him sitting atop a mountain of gold, the king of a mighty kingdom, feared by all throughout the Adriatic Sea and beyond, and that was how he found himself where he was today, sailing into the unknown with dreams of ambitions of a crown. Many of the great Mediterranean raiding hosts had chose to rally to Asbjorn's side in the hope of carving out their own foreign lands, which had accumulated into the modest fleet and army that he now had at his back. Although their small size, they had already seized a number of strategically placed islands off the coast of what was called the Kingdom of Croatia. They were all weakly defended and easy to obtain. Asbjorn had left several trusted men behind to hold these newly conquered lands, but now it was time to take a foothold on the mainland. Upon impact, the hull of his longship found itself softly embedded into the golden shore. He leapt down into the warm, clear waters, accompanied by an axe in one hand and a shield in the other. He wanted to be the first to draw blood this day. He splashed through the shallows and upon the sands as hundreds of warriors disembarked behind him. A small village could now be seen sprouting beneath the castle walls. The inhabitants had been taken by complete surprise. They were now trying to flee in their droves, only a handful of poorly equipped townsfolk brave enough to try and defend their home. Asbjorn and his raiders swarmed the village. They killed all those who opposed them and stood in their way with great ease. Bodies lay littered throughout the streets. The stench of blood and butchered corpses filled the air. The men who tried to defend the holdfast were no warriors. They were but humble peasants. They were farmers and fishermen. The women they left behind were captured and fell victim to the cruel whims of men. Their children were also captured and enslaved, along with any man who would yield. Asbjorn and his raiders then advanced to the keep. Its weak wooden gates laid wide open and undefended. Inside they found the noble lord and his family knelt before a cross in frantic prayer. His men encircled them in laughter. Asbjorn approached the lord and knelt before him. His prayers grew faster and more frantic as he looked down towards the floor, trying his best to pretend the invaders were not there. Asbjorn put out a mailed hand beneath the man's chin and raised his head until their eyes met. "What are you doing? Your gods cannot save you. Only I can do that. It is me you should be praying to." A huge grin plastered across his bearded face as he looked around to his men and nodded a command. His men seized them and imprisoned them. They were not harmed. Captives such as these would fetch a pretty price, and Asbjorn was sure there'd be a petty king or priest somewhere that would pay good silver for their safety. Darkness soon befell the castle. The men drank, sang songs, and feasted upon their victory like kings. As Seer Sigrid had prophesied, fame and fortune awaited him in the east, and this foreign land which they had found themselves upon was extremely wealthy and fertile. This was but a small taste of what was to come. Asbjorn had no doubt in his mind that he could take these weak lands by conquest, and this is where his journey would begin. Hello everyone and welcome back with Crusader Kings 3, where we are starting our first custom story series. Now, for those of you who have been with the channel for a long time and following the channel, you'll know that this is something that we did quite a bit in CK2, especially with Game of Thrones, especially with the Knights of Andalia, which is probably the most successful series on my channel. Still popular to this day, even with CK3 out, and still going strong, well over a year into it, and what, we're about 150 years into that game. But we're going to be aiming for the same thing here with this series, so we'll see how we go. So this is a little bit of an introduction episode, just where we'll go over the lands that we're starting in, our character, as well as our court and council. We've had that introduction POV. We do a lot of POVs for these series for people who will enjoy them. I know a lot of people do enjoy them with the CK2 one, so hopefully the new people that find the channel through CK3 and through our first vanilla story custom series will hopefully enjoy those POVs too. So yes, we are here, landed in the Duchy of, I believe it is Dalmatia, which is in and around the Croatia area, and here is our character, Jarl Asbjorn Eriksson, a famous Viking raider at the age of 24. He's pretty decent stat-wise. I managed to keep him, well, he was just over the 400 mark, but I'm not going to be going for achievements in this playthrough anyway. But we are ambitious, vengeful, wrathful, and greedy. We are also a skilled tactician, a military engineer, a reaver, we're Hale, we're a blade master, scarred, and a Viking raider. We have several other people in our court. We've got about 705 men, decent amount of prestige and piety to spend, and not a great deal of gold, but that will change when we do our raiding. So as we found out from that introduction POV, lore and story-wise, we was one of the Vikings involved in the historical raids of the Mediterranean with Bjorn Ironside, who has now returned home, obviously as we are playing in the Viking playthrough, so they've all gone home to take revenge for the death of Ragnar Lothbrok. But we've decided to sail east from the raids of Sicily and sail up into the Adriatic Sea to this very vulnerable land to take here. It's a good starting position, I think, as we've got several small duchies and smaller kingdoms, which will probably be easier targets, and a lot of these are also still tribal and pagan, so we can take over them without hopefully all of these Christian or Orthodox or Muslim kingdoms starting wars on us and getting involved, which would be nice. We can build a nice base here in the Adriatic Sea. Lots of places to raid, hopefully build up our naval. We've got Venice close by. We've got Rome, of course, close by. We've got the Byzantine Empire close by. Egypt and Northern Africa, the Muslim kingdoms. We've got so much that we could go and raid into as we build this story. We will probably start by trying to expand into these small duchies that we do have pretty close by. There's quite a few of them, giving us all of this coastline. Then we've got Croatia, which would be nice to take. Try and form a kingdom early on with the first hero of our series, Jarl Asbjorn. So let's now go into Jarl Asbjorn and let's go for our lifestyle focus. We'll go for martial. He's quite martial focused. That doesn't mean that our next Jarl or king or whatever we will be by that time will be. I'm not really... I think we'll go for the authority focus. Let's go for that one. I don't know if I've used that one as much. And I think looking at Asbjorn's traits and such, getting the dread and the control will probably be a good thing, especially considering we're in such foreign territories. So let's go and start with that. There's a few other things that we are probably going to have to start sort out at some point. We've got 3 available perks to spend. Okay, so that's interesting. So let's go with Serve the Crown and improve our natural dread. We don't really need to improve this, to be honest, because we're obviously got the religious wars that we can try and take advantage of. Strict organisation, we can increase control in a county, progress gained by 20%, or a man's home, controlled territory defender, advantage +5. I think we'll go with the strict organisation, and then hard rule, our dread gain by 20, siege progress goes up against revolts, and faction military power threshold for vassals. So yeah, we'll go for hard rule there. We are only going to set stuff up in this episode. It's like an introduction episode, as I said, like an episode 0, and then we will actually untick the clock and let time pass in the first official episode. We're just going to get things set up. So there we go, we've chose those things. We are unmarried, we do have no player heir. We'll go through our council, as these are other custom characters, which will hopefully be important through the stories. They'll forge their own houses, they'll get landed titles and become dukes and jarls in their own rights. So we have our Seer Sigrid Riki, who is obviously the one who's seen the visions of Asbjorn's great triumphs in the east. So she is zealous, vengeful and humble. She's a philosopher, she's beautiful, she's a theologian, she's a miracle worker, a renowned physician, a witch and a herbalist. So we've really gone for that seer type stuff with her. She's only 22. She could make a good bride for us. That could be interesting. For now, we'll leave her improving religious relations. Or should we convert? No, let's try and convert the faith in our capital, shall we? Why not? And then we have our Chancellor, Gunnar, who is a beast of a man, as we can see, and he is gregarious, content, just, a grey omniscience, hale, a legendary reveller, and a diplomat. And we will get him to improve domestic affairs for now. Let's try and improve stuff with our own lands, as we probably do still have a couple of Greek vassals that we need to sort out. We have Kiar, our steward, who is temperate, just, stubborn, a Midas touched, a legitimised bastard, a blade master, and shrewd. And we'll get him to maybe promote our culture. Yeah, let's get him to promote culture. Why not? Because we can raid for money. Let's try and improve the culture, the Norse culture in our new lands. We have Aid, our marshal, who is brave, wrathful, humble. He's a brilliant strategist, a holy warrior, hale, strategist, blade master, and a berserker. And we'll get him to increase control in some of our lands, as we have got pretty weak control over these Greek states that we now own. And our spy master, Talir, he is deceitful, vengeful, zealous. He's an inquisitive web weaver. He's quick, one-eyed, scarred, one-legged. So he's been through the wars by the looks of it, the poor bastard. He's a blade master and a schemer, and we'll get him to just disrupt schemes for now and keep an eye on his right. So we do need to get all of these guys married. So let's see what we can try and find for these guys. If we can get some people with some decent traits. Oh, we've got a giant here, a 23-year-old quick giant. Let's go with her for a bride for our marshal then. Why not? Let's try and improve that. He is a berserker as well, so we could get some interesting stuff there. So let's get those to marry, which is perfect. Send proposal. We need a marriage for our diplomat. Let's have a look what we can find for him. I'm pretty sure that I should have inheritable traits on, because I always search for those. But we'll have a look. Let's go for some people with inheritable traits. We do have someone here with Comely, but she is of a different culture. But then again, we could try and get involved with the different cultures that are around here. Oh, we've got 37. I say we had someone here who's intelligent, but she's quite old. We do have this Norse girl who's 17, and she is Comely. She's also brave, just, and greedy. So yep, she will be an awesome match. Our steward. Let's see if we can arrange a marriage for you. We're going to go with the same stuff again. And we have Freya here, who's Comely. Yep, she is perfect. And now I think that just leaves our spy master, who we need to find a match for. And we do have this Polish girl here. She's pretty much the only one, to be honest, with inheritable traits. Why not? Yeah, perfect. She had 2 inheritable traits. That's pretty good. And this guy has quick as well, so there's also the chance of that being inherited. So that works out perfectly. And then there was one more custom courtier that we do have, who is a shield maiden, who I may have as one of our brides. Let's find her. She's in here somewhere. Where has she gone? Here she is. Herja. And she is brave, wrathful, honest. She's a skilled tactician, unyielding defender, a reaver, hail, blade master, scarred, and a Viking raider. Now, she does have one inheritable trait, but I think I'd rather marry the seer. Let's marry our seer. She has the beautiful trait, which would be interesting. So let's take her as our bride. Why not? She's very loyal to us. So let's do that. And we are now married. And I think I'll take our shield maiden, Herja, wherever she is. Let's take her as a concubine. Can we do that? And yes, we can. And she's got an inheritable trait as well. So yeah, let's take her. Herja is now our concubine. And then we'll leave open those other slots for concubines for now, because we could possibly get some from different cultures and religions and exploit that a little bit later on. In court, we've got a lot of Greek Orthodox people here. We'll look into seeing if they're useful. And we do have a guy, Tyke. Who's Tyke? This is just a random Norseman that we've got. He's stupid. He's an insightful thinker at the same time, though, which is interesting, which gives him 4 learning, even though he's stupid. He's impatient, calm, and humble. Okay, he doesn't seem like too bad a guy. Let's pin him. Why not? We'll keep him interesting, along with our other custom characters. So that's a look at all our characters. As I said, we've arranged marriages for all of them. We're not going to start the episode straight away. Let's see what sort of issues we've got. There's wars that we can start. We can try and imprison our wife and seer, which we're not going to do. That's just because she's a witch. So there's powerful vassals expecting a council position. We're not going to worry about those mayors for now. We will change that. We should improve the opinion of one of those, apparently, but we'll look into that. We've got too few champions. Well, a lot of these are already champions. We could invite some champions, which will cost us 150 prestige. We've got plenty of prestige, so let's do that. We can try and find ourselves some more knights. Well, more champions. And our manpower has just improved, which is interesting. Which has just gone up by quite a bit. But we're not going to be doing anything in the case of that. Now, with my custom series, I do always encourage the viewers to get involved as much as possible. If you guys want to submit characters that you want to get involved in this, then I will look through them all and add as many as possible. But I do ask that you don't go and make them too overpowered. If you can try and keep them around the 400 mark on the custom creator, so they're not too over the top, and hopefully I can get them involved and try and keep them relevant to the story and the series and what's going on, and the more chance they have of obviously being joined in then. And I also like to rename places and just try and make this our own world. So if you've got any suggestions for some of the names that we've got here, instead of the Duchy of Zadar, if you think something more Norse, a nice mix for any of these cities or castles that we do own, then please feel free to suggest them as well, and we can change them and really make this into our own, like, fictional epic kingdom. We do have a Discord server as well for the channel, so if any of you want to join that, then please feel free. We'd love to have you. You can find that in the description of the video, or you can find it on the channel. But we will now end this introduction episode here. I hope that you guys are looking forward to this. I know a lot of the guys in the Discord who do know about this early are really excited for it, and I hope that they are going to enjoy it, and I hope that everybody else is also going to enjoy it. Please don't forget to comment down below with any suggestions for this series. Don't forget to leave a like on the video so I know if you guys are looking forward to it, and subscribe if you're new here and want to stick around for this series, and hopefully I'll see you all very, very soon for episode 1 in the Raiders of the Adriatic.